Bringer of Rain here, folks. Just wanted to share some quick thoughts here on the never ending rivalry, I should say, between Pac Man and Floyd. I mean, this shit has been going on for damn near over a decade. Has it been? Yeah, it's been over a decade. I mean, Pacquiao was the number one pound for pound fighter, a lot of people considered, after he beat De La Hoya, and that was in 2008, I believe, during Floyd Mayweather's brief retirement. And that's just crazy. I mean, these guys have been linked to each other for so long. It's astonishing, really. The fact that a 44-year-old and a 42-year-old are still the two most polarizing dominant personality in a sport that many dub to be a young man's game. Well, there are no other fighters out there who have even come close to capturing the attention of the fans worldwide, whether it's here in the United States and elsewhere, capturing the attention of fans than these two guys. No one has come close. We got guys like Canelo and Bud Crawford and even Errol Spence, who's fighting Pacquiao, who we all hoped that would take the throne and carry boxing. But let's just be frank here, folks. The second most popular boxer in the world, or at least over here in the US, is probably Canelo, and he's nowhere near a pay-per-view star that Pacquiao and Mayweather were. I mean, I remember when I was a kid at school, people knew when these guys were fighting. It was the talk of the school. Everyone was buzzing about it. People who didn't even know boxing were excited to see what happens. I have friends who are actually boxing fans now, and they have no idea when Canelo is fighting. They don't know who he's fighting. They don't know who he's fought besides Triple G and Mayweather. It's like nobody really seems to care too much about Canelo here unless you're a hardcore boxing fan. But Pacquiao and Mayweather, they appeal to casuals in the US and worldwide. And I think it's a testament to their personalities, their charisma, and of course the intriguing fights that they can bring in the ring. Anyway, folks, I'm not trying to wax on here about boxing history, but let me just touch on briefly this feud that's brewing over. We all know Pacquiao, during that Spence press conference that I covered here, brought up Floyd's name in reference to a question by the moderator that said, "Do you think Floyd Mayweather can give Spence pointers?" Pacquiao interjected and said, "Well, Spence is actually a better fighter than Floyd, so I'm not sure what he could teach him." To the dismay of a lot of the Floyd Mayweather faithful, I've seen it here on my videos. Just anyone that merely mentions anything remotely negative about Floyd Mayweather will get an outcry of response saying that you're biased, you're a hater, this and that, for simply having an opinion or for simply making an observation. I've been called all kinds of horrible names here just for reporting on this kind of news. People have claimed that I'm a hater, I hate Floyd Mayweather, this and that. Far from it, actually. I actually acknowledge his greatness as a fighter and acknowledge his win over Manny Pacquiao, but yet I'm called a racist and this and that simply because Manny Pacquiao is my favorite fighter. Anyway, folks, I'm getting on a tangent here. I could go on all day about this crazy fan base of Floyd Mayweather, but anyway, folks, here's the point I wanted to make. I'm starting to think that there might be something brewing here with this back and forth banter between Pacquiao and Mayweather. I think these two guys are smarter and more craftier than a lot of people are giving them credit for. I think they both know how they were able to swindle the world of their hard-earned cash with that horrible fight that took place in 2015. Fight of the century that ended up being the disappointment of the century. I still want my $100 back, by the way. But they were able to kind of really run away from Las Vegas extremely rich from that fight. It was absolutely incredible. Broke records, gate records, pay-per-view records, revenue records, everything. But the fight was, everyone thought was a disappointment. Now, years later, they're much older, whatnot. People aren't really too interested in seeing them fight. But what could be the one thing that could sway the public perception, that could get people to believe in Manny Pacquiao's chances against Floyd Mayweather in a rematch after their largely much of a dud first fight. Well, that would be if Manny Pacquiao could set back the clock once again and make welterweight boxing history once again and beat Errol Spence Jr. for the unified welterweight titles. And actually, the Ring Magazine lineal title is on the line too, which is pretty exciting because outside of Pac-Man's fight with Floyd, he's never had a chance to fight for the lineal welterweight title. If I'm wrong, someone can correct me, but I'm almost positive on that. So if Pacquiao were to somehow beat Errol Spence, in which would easily be the largest boxing event of this year, then maybe, just maybe, they could stir up enough reason and enough credibility to stage a sequel and supplant that first fight and become the biggest fight in boxing history, the rematch between Mayweather and Pacquiao. I'm starting to think that maybe something could be going on here with all this trash talk. I mean, nobody was really interested in seeing them rematch again, but I'm telling you, with how they're hyping up Errol Spence as like the next Mike Tyson here, and if Manny Pacquiao were to somehow beat him, then all of a sudden we have this situation on our hands where people are viewing Manny Pacquiao as a beast again. I'm talking about the boxing public at large. And people would really, really believe that he could actually beat Floyd Mayweather again. This would give that hope that boxing fans have not had since that fight in 2015. And I think that boxing is such kind of a shady sport. It's so hungry for money that I think people should start paying more attention to this. Everyone's foregone conclusion is, oh yeah, this is a passing of the torch fight. Pacquiao is going to hand it over to Spence and he's going to be a pay-per-view star. Well, guess what? I think Spence is not that kind of personality. He doesn't have that kind of charisma to be a pay-per-view star. And I think that Mayweather versus Pacquiao 2 might be what is possible here. Am I crazy, folks? Tell me your thoughts. Bring Your Brain checking out.